Welcome back to Your Average Witch, where every other Tuesday we talk about witch life, witch stories, and sometimes a little witchcraft. This week's episode is brought to you by Charm by Charlie. Step beyond the veil and commune with the spirits with Charlie Michelle, a skilled healer guided by the whispers of herbs and the mysteries of divination. If you act fast, you might even catch her flash sale. Her Protect Your Neck bundle includes one tarot pole, fire scrying for deeper insight, and a spirit-led prescription of an herb, crystal, or anything else spirit thinks you can arm yourself with. The Protect Your Neck bundle is just $22. There's also a mini reading for $11, which gets you one intuitive tarot or oracle card pull and a quick flame scrying. Visit charmbycharlie.com to learn more. This week I'm talking with Alyssa of Blyssfull Magick. We talked about spirits, spiritual bypassing, and community. Now let's get to the stories. Alyssa, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Yay. Thanks for being here. Can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do and where they can find you?
Surely. My name is Alyssa Barlow, and I own Blyssfull Magick. I like to coin myself as an intuitive healer, a witchy woman, a psychic medium, tarot reader, Reiki master teacher, aura reader, lots of things. But essentially, at the essence of my work, I like to kind of help people find the power within them. A lot of witches, and I feel like just people who do any kind of healing work like to kind of, especially in the witchy world, that this isn't talked about very much, but I feel like people very often have this notion that you need to buy things, consumerism, you need to keep up with the next best thing, the next best course, the next best workshop. And I really firmly believe in the power that we hold within. I think that we all have super innate ancient wisdom within that can actually help us heal. And I kind of just help people come back to those little things that we can do daily to help us heal those little parts of us like trauma, and I use little with quotes. But so I'm located in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. And I'm sure you can hear by my Philly accent here. But that's pretty much it for me.
So, do you identify as a witch? And if so, what does that mean?
Yes, I do. So I'm not a very consistent witch, I'll be honest with you. But for me, being an intuitive healer, a lot of the witchy stuff that I do is very intuitive based. So I worship Gaia, I worship deity. I don't even actually like to use the word worship. It's more or less honoring them. And I realistically, what I do is I try to keep up with rituals on new moons and full moons. But that's really the essence of my work, is to just like be as low maintenance as possible because I'm a mother and I'm also pregnant now too. So it's really hard these days to try and find a consistent practice. But I've noticed something as simple as like clearing my energy on a full moon and cleansing my crystals can also be super transformative for me and helpful in coming back to just these little pieces of consistency, I guess, within the inconsistency, if that makes sense. So there are certain things that I like to do often, and one of those is to clear my energy, to cleanse my crystals, and to kind of cleanse my tarot decks, like the things that I use pretty often. And obviously, with being like a psychic medium, I have to make sure that I'm, pretty clear and cleansed and detoxing as well. So I like to do that with bath rituals. And that is the number one way that I usually will celebrate full moons. With new moons, it's more or less just journaling, setting intentions, and things of that sort. But witchcraft to me is very much just a means of coming home to, the power within women specifically. And I think that our womb space has a lot to be said about it. And we have a lot of this, I don't even want to call it wisdom. It is wisdom, but It's more than that. It's this creator energy. It's the means to connect both the spiritual and the physical. We have this innate intuition within. And I think that that's what being a witch is all about. It's all about just kind of honing into that personal power that we have.
So let's veer off for a second. What does the word worship mean to you?
So I have like this weird thing with the word worship where I feel like it connects to, and this might just be like religious trauma, but I feel like it connects to.
I don't use the word either. That's kind of why I'm
Yeah,
asking.
I don't. It just feels icky to me for some reason.
Yes. Gross.
It relates me back to Jesus, the Bible, and if that's your thing, I'm not shitting on it. Honestly, whatever works for you. I just don't like the feeling that it gives me. I think it makes me feel really, really gross. So when I'm worshiping, when I'm honoring something, I feel like that's like, hey, I'm honoring you, I'm honoring me and the wisdom that we both have within. And then when I'm worshiping something, I feel like I'm giving all of the power over to that thing or that person or that being. And that to me is gross because that, like I said earlier, at the essence of my work, it's about finding the power within. And I firmly believe that we all have so much wisdom to share. And I think being a witch is also about sharing that with others in communities and things like that. And worship, again, just, I don't like that word. But not shitting on you if you use it.
Here is how I feel about it.
Yeah, I want to hear it. Actually, I was going to ask you.
I had to look up the term sovereignty to see if that's what I meant. It kind of is. I feel like I need sovereignty and I don't have that. If I can hand that feeling, that it's more than respect. It's like power, like you said. I don't want to hand that over to anybody or any other being.
Mm-hmm.
So when I work with higher beings that I even hesitate to call them deity, to be honest, because I don't know if I believe in those or not. I believe that there are higher powers, yes, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who the fuck I'm just some fucking stupid human on this planet. There's
For real.
obviously more powerful things in the universe than myself. So when I work with deity, I'm more it is kind of, I know people are like, oh, transactional is bad, or they imply that it's bad, but that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
essentially.
I show them respect, and it is transactional when I do that work. So
Yeah,
okay,
I
that's
definitely
my
agree with you.
curiosity is answered.
Love these conversations.
Me too. So you talked a little bit about your practice. Can you introduce us to it? Do you have any consistent things? I know you said bath rituals.
Yeah, I would say since becoming a mother, that's my most consistent. I like to do protection rituals probably every month too. And then another thing that's really consistent within my practice is on the first of the month, I never miss my cinnamon because a bitch needs abundance.
Your
Especially with
bitch is broke.
earnings.
Your
Yeah,
bitch is broke. Who
exactly.
you telling?
Exactly. Me too. So, and that's why I like to, those little things are really consistent in my practice. There's nothing really big with me. I am a very ritualistic person. So like, adding ritual into my day to day is really important to me. But like I've said, since becoming a mother, I don't have the time, the energy, or the efforts, if I'm being honest, to like cleanse my altar like every so often and like do all the big things that we should be doing, or not even should. I don't. That's a
Thank you,
gross
because I
word
was
too.
going to say, who says that?
Yeah,
Who
that's a
says I
gross
should?
word.
Don't tell me
But
what to
like,
do.
I just feel like witches have this fucking, I know, dude, right? For real. I feel like witches have this expectation put on them that, like, if you're not doing all the things, are you actually a witch? Like, fuck you. Yeah, I am. And here's how, because every day is intentional for me. And that to me is another form of witchcraft. It's another form of devotion. And that is what witchcraft is to me, is devoting myself to my own personal healing, my own personal power, and finding that within my mundane. So that's basically the consistency of my practice is the inconsistency.
Devotion is another good word to use instead of worship.
Yeah, I use that word a lot, actually.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So what motivates you? And contrast that with your biggest struggle in your practice.
So I feel like what motivates me in my practice is I hate to use this word again since we just talked about it, but is the devotion to self, is um, the need to show up for myself in some little small way. I feel a lot of pressure around being a stay-at-home mother, being a business owner. And then, like, my husband, luckily he works from home, so I get a lot of help with my son. But even like with being pregnant now, like I finding that time for me is difficult. So for me, that is what's most important for me in this stage in my life, is finding those little bits and pieces of time. And my practice brings me back to what's true within, and not, the daily tasks that I have to do, like these goddamn dishes that never seem to stop, or the wash that I consistently have to do, like things like that. And then even like small things like listening to podcasts, like witchy podcasts, like your average witch, like things like that. Macy and Charlie's podcast, Teresa's podcast with Rachel. It's all just like little means of being intentional and kind of reminding myself underneath of all of this mundane work, I am still a witch. And that's kind of what motivates me to keep up with my practices, to, even if it feels inconsistent, to always remember that being a witch is about coming back to the essence and the truth and the core of you. And then I would say my biggest struggle would probably be, as of late, finding the time, finding the motivation, if I'm being honest. I so often find myself wanting to do like this full blown ritual, wanting to go to a drum circle, wanting to spend my full moons with community. But then by the end of the day, I'm just so exhausted. And I'm like, I would rather just sit in a bath where I can just be by myself and listen to some relaxing music, maybe even listen to a podcast like this, and just chill, no expectations, not having to socialize. Even though I know that what I should probably be doing is socializing, because I'm at home all day, every day, with talking to nobody but a 1-year-old. But it's a lot of times this, not to get deep here, but my postpartum depression has been kind of bad too. So it's easier for me to just stay inside and do these small things when I have no motivation, when I have no energy, and to kind of isolate. And I know that that's not the healthiest, but also, who am I if I'm not showing up and being my best self? And that might be the Virgo in me, the perfectionist in me. Um, but allowing myself to be seen in on platforms like this, and all of me, is important. So I'm going to be as transparent and honest as possible in this episode.
Cool. It would be
Mm-hmm.
weird if you weren't.
I know. I have trouble with this, though. I have trouble with these perfectionist tendencies. And my goal this year was to be more intentional, be more present with that instead of shaming it. So, yeah, this is me.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your favorite tool, whether it is a physical thing like a cauldron, or like a favorite song you like to work with.
So I'd say my favorite tools are my herbs. I can't really pick a favorite, although I will say that I use lavender in almost everything just because I love the smell of it. And I think it's a very versatile herb. Also, I have this gorgeous selenite wand, but it's not even a wand, it's a sword. It's a selenite shaped in a sword. And I use it for any kind of, like I said, protection ritual, which is what I seem to be doing these days. And then just like any kind of, like, I do Reiki sessions. So when I'm clearing people's energy and things like that, I'm using my selenite wand. When I need a little tune up for myself, I'm using my selenite wand. When I need to cleanse my crystals, selenite wand. So on top of my herbs, I'm using that tool. And those are probably my two favorites. I also really, really have to shout out my patchouli oil. Dude, I love
Hell
patchouli.
yeah.
It's my favorite smell, dude. I love it. I love it so much. And it's probably the oil that I use to anoint most things with. So I gotta shout him out too. I don't know why I just called him him. I guess he's a him.
It was when Macy talked about it. It was masculine.
Oh, yeah? Okay, there we go. Intuition on a bean.
Also, shout out to Little Seed Farms deodorant they have a rosemary patchouli. It is fucking delicious.
Okay, what did you say that was? Little Seed? I gotta write this down.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
It's a goat farm, and they make gorgeous smelling deodorant. Well, basically, the main deodorant that I like is the rosemary patchouli. But I can
That
only order
sounds
it during
heavenly.
the winter because it will just turn into oil and run all into someone else's mailbox out of mine.
Ah, yes. We love that.
Anyway,
Sense my
it's good
sarcasm.
stuff. Oh, and they have free samples. You just have to
Ooh,
pay shipping. I think you can get like 6.
lovely. We love free things.
What is something you wish was discussed more in the magical community?
Spiritual bypassing. I am very passionate about this. And I didn't even honestly look at the questions that you gave me. I'm so sorry. I probably should have just looked at them.
When people write things down and then read it, we can tell.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. But spiritual bypassing, because I just feel, of course, aside from the lack of integrity, the lack of authenticity that comes with it, spirituality is about the nuance. It's about the balance between the physical and the spiritual and how we can bring the two together, right? And I think a lot of people forget that. And so I firmly believe, this is just an example. I firmly believe in the law of attraction. I do. But I would be remiss to say that if your washer just fucking breaks, hey, dude, sometimes this shit just happens, okay? Like, you didn't
Sometimes your
attract
washer is
this.
just 15 years old.
Exactly. You didn't attract this, okay? And I just need people to realize that not everything that happens in your reality, in your world, is your fault. And we need to stop with this these toxic notions that can really be harmful to other people. I think that's I'm really passionate about it because I feel like it's not all love and light. When you get into real spiritual realms, it is about embracing that darkness. It is about how that coincides with the light side of you and how you can bring the two together to be almost like this gray matter. Yeah, that's all I got to say about it.
I don't like the thing when people say everything happens for a reason. Does it though? I mean, it probably does. Just in space and time, something cause and effect. But there's no Sky Daddy who made my dog die to make some sort of point to me.
Right. And that's the thing that I struggle with, especially regarding death, especially when people have lost children, like they're babies or like very young children in tragic accidents. Like death is one of those things that's like, yes, it's a natural part of life. Yes, it just happens. But to be honest with you, you did not, I don't care what you did in this world, you did not deserve to have your child, to birth a child that's a stillborn. Trigger warning for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you did not deserve that experience. It's just awful to say that. And it's awful and very, very harmful to have these rhetorics going around. And I think in the spiritual community, it's very much like, well, just think positive thoughts and positive things will come to you. I believe that in a sense, but I also believe that if you continue to ignore your shadows, that these things will just keep perpetuating in your reality. And this is not a way to be conducive and go about your healing in a conducive way, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a tough topic. I realize that it's very sensitive, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. So I just, as soon as I heard you say that, I was like, I already know.
What steps have you taken to build local community near you? Because right now, we're headed toward living in a fascist dictatorship.
Whew,
And
yeah.
so they might turn the internet off. So what are you doing to keep yourself safe in your local community?
Okay, so I actually have a few little community things that I host every month or so. Just so, like-minded people can get together. You don't even have to be witchy. It's just a place for us to kind of gather and be in a safe place. And I always say this before I get into what I actually do. I just want to say that I always recognize that we are humans. And while we are divine beings, we are also in these human suits with these human minds and these human bodies and these physical beings that need love in all the forms and all of us. So I always say, all of you is welcome here. And I don't mean that in like a cliche, stupid way, although it sounds a little cliche. I truly just mean every emotion. At any point of day, if you're having a bad day and you don't want to come and you're hesitant to come to like my Reiki shares, for example, no, still come, because this actually could kind of help shift and heal things in you that you might not even realize until you get there. So for one, I do Reiki shares monthly. It's always the third Saturday of the month in Bristol, PA. So if you're local to Bristol, it's a donation-based space, so you can donate as much as 1 cent. I don't put any pressure on it. I just want you to kind of have a space where you feel held, and that's really what my work is at the essence of. I just want you to feel held and supported in who you are, right? So I do that every month. And then I also have on my Instagram live about every month, I go live and I do donation-based readings. So if you feel like you need a little bit of clarity, if you feel like you need a little bit of just a community hang, I have a lot of people who don't even get readings done by me, and they just come in every live and just to hang out and chat. We have a really good time, actually. So I do stuff like that. And I'm actually coordinating doing Reiki for the homeless. So doing Reiki for the homeless, and then also doing Reiki for a women's and children's shelter. So I'm coordinating that now, and that will be, all those details will be on my social media once I have all that figured out. But those are just a few things that I'm working on at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, really excited about it, actually.
Think of the 3 biggest influences on your practice, whether it is a person or a deity or a book you read once. Thank each thing or person for for how they affect your practice.
Okay. So, this is an interesting question. I would have to say Carl Jung, because I feel that he very much inspired the correlation between psychology and spirituality. And I feel that his work very heavily resonates with me. He's been a very big influence on my work as well. I would be remiss to not mention Mama Gaia, as that is who I honor. And she is a really, really big part of my practice. And I'm very much a naturey person, I guess you could say. And I find my medicine in nature, as most people do. We are by nature, no pun intended. We are nature, so it makes sense why we feel recharged in these. There's this spot around the corner from my house, and it is the most serene place ever. And it's just this. it's not anything special. Like there's a train going right over top of it. It's kind of a little bit busier, but it's just this spot by the water. It's this little ducky spot in Morrisville. And it's just beautiful to sit there and watch a bunch of ducks, and little ducks are always there. There's geese there. There's always spiders and creepy crawlies around because it's like right near the woods. And there's this little abandoned train track that you can go and explore. Even though it says private property, I still go and explore it. And
it's fine. Nobody knows.
It's fine. No one will know. How will they know? But it's a little ducky spot, and that to me, when I'm feeling really down, even just like on a day when I don't want to go to the park with my son, or I don't feel like having the energy to go anywhere else, it's literally 2 minutes, a 2-minute drive from where I live. So it's so easy to just go there and sit there and just, people fish there. It's just really serene. And so that's one of my spots that I like to go to and just kind of have that moment of, rejuvenation, peace. So Gaia's been a really big influence on my life. And then lastly, I would say my mom. And I know that this might not be like something that's conventional that people usually say. Like I'm sure people usually say they're like, they're the people that they honor as well. But my mom is a very innately spiritual person. And it's not until recently that she really even realized it. I'll tell you a little story about my mom and how she is spiritual. When we used to be in the grocery store, my mom would just be like, I feel like I have to, and mind you, I'm like 9 years old. Okay. So I don't even know what my gifts are at this point. Obviously I have them, but I don't know what they are or how I even got them. And she would just be like, I feel like I need to go up to this person and just ask them if they're okay. And so she would just randomly, and I thought it was weird at the time, and I still do, honestly. She's a little bit of a eccentric weirdo, but it's fine. We love her.
That would make me have to leave the store if someone came up to me and said that.
Right? I know. I feel you. Trust me, I do. I get it. But like some people would just like be like, I'm really not doing okay. And just like be able to feel so safe with her that they were able to just tell her about their life story. And like that to me was like a little weird. But as I started to get older, I was like, oh, she's a safe space for people. She helps people feel safe. And she's always been that for me. And then in, earlier years, probably around like maybe I was 7 or 8, and I had just lost my greatest loss of my life, my Uncle Matt. He was my best friend. Like my kid is named after him. I love this man so much. He was the coolest dude ever. Sweetest man you'll ever meet. But R.I.P. Uncle Matt. But she had lost him, and they were also really good friends too, brother, sister, really, really close. After she lost him, she started getting these like, we would, this sounds weird too. We would drive by people and she would look at them for a second and be like, have you ever looked at somebody? And mind you, again, I'm 7, 8 years old. She's like, have you ever looked at somebody and you can just imagine what the inside of their house looks like, what kind of cars they drive, like what they do for a living? I was like, no, Mom, I'm just a kid. Like, what do you mean? But then as I got older, I realized my mom has like a lot of these psychic tendencies that is likely where I got my gifts from. And she's just a little bit of a weirdo, honestly. But I love that about her. I think that she is the kindest human, and she has shown me what it means to be a strong woman. She has a lot of chronic health issues, and you wouldn't even know it because of how she presents herself and how, joyful she is, how she's willing to take care of another. I remember this one time, there's another story for you. This one time we were driving on the highway, we saw an accident happen, like maybe like a few feet in front of us. Thank God we didn't get hurt or anything. And honestly, that the people weren't hurt either. But she pulled over and these people barely spoke English. And she was like, I'll have your kids in my car, because there was glass all over their car. And she was like, I'm not going to hurt you. Please just like let me help you. I'll put your kids in my car until, the ambulance gets here, whatever. And just little things like that. She is always so willing to help. And I think that that's where I get my caring nature from. And if it weren't from her, for her, I don't think that I would be the person that I am today. And she has greatly affected my practice, even if just recently she started to realize that she is more of a witch than she thinks. She has been a significant influence in my life.
That's nice.
Yeah, we have a really close relationship. I'm very blessed.
That's good.
Yeah.
So now that you've heard the questions, who do you think I should have on the show?
Okay, so this one, okay, give me a minute. Let me see. I have a few people that I would say, but this one person popped into my head, and her name is Julie Eckmeyer, and she is I like to call her my yoga nature witch friend. She is a yoga instructor here, also lives in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and her Instagram is Calming the Chaos, if anybody wants to follow her. She uses myofascial release as well as yoga and nature. So she uses the three to kind of help you heal and get to a place where you can connect the physical, mind, and spirit. And that's what I love about her is she's one of the most realist, authentic people I've ever met. And she's just really, how do I explain Julie? She is such a wise soul, and she's so soulful. She just has so much wisdom. And every time I talk to her, I feel like she's one of those people where like I can just talk and talk to her forever and listen to her talk forever because she has so much wisdom to hold. But I love her because she uses more realistic views when it comes to myofascial release and when it comes to yoga. Like you don't need all these tools. You know, there's stuff that you have already at home that you can use to kind of help you release the tension and the trauma in your body, which is really great because it's practical. And you don't need to, again, with the consumerism, you don't need to go out and buy things to be able to support your practice. So I'd say she would be a really, really good witch to have on this podcast. And I'm going to let her know that I recommended her.
Well, thank you. Do you want to
Thank
throw
you.
anybody else's name in the pot?
I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but I have a lot of witchy friends. Honestly, most of which have already been on the show. So I was going to say Teresa Marisa. She's already been on the show. And there's this other girl. Her name, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, her name is Atia. Her Instagram handle is Intuitive John. And she is my Black Beauty goddess friend who has so much. She does mostly like tarot readings and psychic and aura readings, like divination stuff. But she has so much just like radiance to share with the world that I think that she would be a really refreshing person to have on this show as well. So I'm going to let her know as well that one, to check out your show, and two, that I kind of want to see her on here.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for giving me new guest people.
Heck yeah. You know, always down. I was literally the one thing that I wanted to, this was the one question that I actually did try to prepare for was how many people or who I would recommend on the show. And as I'm looking through your episodes, I'm like, oh, damn, Charlie and Macy have been on here. Oh, damn, Teresa's been on here. Like every person
There's
that
a
I
lot
could think of.
Anahata and Wabanahata people.
Yeah, even Molly Wild. I was like, oh, maybe Molly. No, Molly has also been on here. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so I just started getting into your show just recently, maybe like a few months ago. So I wasn't sure who was all on the show as of yet. So I'm like searching through the episodes. I was like, damn it. Like
There's a lot to search through at this point.
Yeah, for sure. How long have you been doing the show, by the way?
Since 21. I just did 100,000 downloads last week.
Oh, heck yeah, man. That's awesome. I love that.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or bring up that I didn't ask? Anything that I left out? Anything you wanted to ask me? Anything cool happening with you?
So I actually have a tarot course coming up that I'm facilitating with my friend Kelsey. Her Instagram handle is Indigo Child K, and we are doing that in person at Energy Ripple in Bristol, PA. So if you're local and you're interested in learning tarot, it's a 6-week course. You can take individual classes or you can do the whole course. If you do the whole course, you can get it for a discounted rate. So, and there's also Afterpay because I realize we're struggling right now financially, collectively. So, so that's an option. I also, like I said, my monthly Reiki shares are on the same day as the first day of the first class of the tarot course. So that's coming up as well. And these are both coming up this Saturday on the 17th. I'm not sure when this will be airing, but regardless, you could still sign up for the tarot course after, even if the first class has already been over and done with. And then as for me, you can find me at on Instagram, and also my website is Blyssfull Magick, but my Instagram, I'll spell it out for you. It's spelled a little funky. So my Instagram is BLYSSFULL_MAGICK. And then my website is the same thing, spelled the same way, blissfulmagic.com. Like I said, I have a bunch of services. One of my favorite services personally of mine is doing psychic mediumship. I love connecting you with your guides and your loved ones. And I also offer a sliding scale for anyone, but especially anybody of a marginalized group. So if you're feeling like you really need some guidance, you really need some clarity on anything, but you really can't afford it, please, please, please just shoot me a DM, shoot me an email. You can find that on my website too. And we'll work together. I'm more than willing to work with you to try and get you some kind of clarity, some kind of ability to reconnect, whether it be with yourself or with spirit or spirit's wisdom, whatever it is, I'm here to help you. So, and I think that's it for me.
Actually, y'all, she's going to be doing that class at Energy Ripple, which is owned by Crystal, who was the guest about a year ago on episode 21, season 4. So go check
heck
that
yeah.
out.
There you go. We love Crystal.
So the last 2 things that I ask my guests are, number 1, can you please recommend something to the listeners? It doesn't have to be magical or witchy or whatever, just whatever you're into this week.
Yeah, I absolutely can. So I actually have 2 incredible books by Michael Singer, and I swear they've changed my life, and I hope that they'll change yours too. One is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and then the other is The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer. And they both kind of go hand in hand with one another, but I feel like they both have their kind of medicine and magic to offer as well. You can find these on Audible. I mean, not the best platform to find them on, but just throwing it out there. You can find them at a local library, which is a little bit better, definitely a little bit better. And yeah, so those are 2 books that have really changed my life. Also, another book that I would like to throw out there is, I'm a reader. I'm a Virgo. I love reading. I love collecting knowledge. But The 4 Agreements, Don Miguel, I think his name is, that also changed my life. So those 3 books I would highly recommend.
And the last thing is, please tell me a story.
A story? Okay, I can do that.
Yay!
Okay, so let me try and think of a good one. Okay, a good story. Okay, I have a good one for you. I was talking about my Uncle Matt recently, right, and how he passed away. And I had this dream a couple weeks after he passed. I was only 7.5 years old, but I still remember the dream very vividly. And my mom had a dream on the same day. It was crazy. So her dream about my uncle went a little bit like this. She showed up to a funeral home in her dream, and a hearse pulled up. And this was obviously after my uncle's funeral and all that had already happened. And she looked inside the hearse's window and she could see my uncle. And so my uncle was like putting his hand up to the window. So my mom put her hand up to the window and he gave her one little message and he said, "Please tell mom to stop crying." And she was like, "Okay." So she woke up crying. It was like obviously happy to see her brother, I'm sure. She called my grandmom. At this same time, my grandmom was holding a handprint of my Uncle Matt's that they had made from when he was dying in the hospital. And every time I tell that story, I just get full body chills. I feel like it's just crazy. And then that same day, this is also crazy. It was obviously later at night. My mom was taking a nap during the day. And then later at night, I had this dream about my uncle, which unbeknownst to me, my mom had already had this dream. So he came and visited both of us. But I had a dream about my wedding and my uncle being at my wedding. And I didn't see who I was marrying. So I didn't like see my husband who I have now that I was marrying. But I saw what I looked like when I was older. And I look the exact same. I can remember it so vividly. I remember my grandfather not being in my dream though. And I was like wondering, like, why is my grandfather not in my dream? Well, he had gotten really sick and he couldn't actually come to my wedding. And that was one of the things that really showed through for me. My uncle was kind of just like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm seeing your wedding, but also just letting you know, Pop's not going to be able to come to your wedding." And I just thought that that's so crazy. He didn't really say anything in my dream with me. He was just kind of in the background, which kind of just lets me know that he was there at my wedding in spirit. So on my wedding day, best believe I said a prayer. I said my thoughts to him. You know, I gave him my thoughts and my prayers and basically was like, "Thank you for showing me what this day would look like. Thank you for showing me that Pop wouldn't be here." So instead of, because my grandfather wasn't able to be there, I FaceTimed him and we were able to FaceTime him during the ceremony and he was still able to see the wedding. So it's kind of like my uncle kind of prepared us for these moments, these monumental moments in my life. So
That's cool. Yay for
yeah, it's really cool.
future.
It's super cool. I love it.
So next, let's craft a spell.
Okay. How do you want to do this? I'm excited.
Let's do a bath one.
Okay.
I don't take baths, partly because it's hard for me to get in and out of the bathtub. To thank you to new hips. But, and a big butt. We're not going to talk about the big butt part.
Okay, so let's do... What do we want this spell to be? What is the intention here?
Peace.
All right, sounds good. Perfect. Perfect for a bath ritual spell. Okay, so since we want the intention to be peace, I say obvious lavender. We're going to add some herbs in to our bath.
To hear more of the members-only episode, head over to crepuscularconjuration.com. The monthly magic tier will give you access to the monthly Magic Marco Polo group, the private Facebook group, and access to the written monthly spells. There's also Crepuscular Conjurations, giving you bonus podcast episodes, coloring pages, guided meditations, spellcrafting videos, printable downloads, and a lot more. The free Witchy Wonderment level will give you a little sample of everything I just mentioned. You can also visit my shop, Clever Kim's Curios, to get spell boxes one at a time or by monthly subscription, intentional handcrafted jewelry that I make especially for witches, and handmade altar tools. You can even listen to the full Your Average Witch podcast library, including show notes and transcripts. Check it out at crepuscularconjuration.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Average Witch. You can find us all around the internet on Instagram at Your Average Witch Podcast, facebook.com/groups/hivehouse, at www.youraveragewitch.com, and at your favorite podcast service. If you'd like to recommend someone for the podcast, like to be on it yourself, or if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, send an email to youraveragewitchpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.